for us?
There you go. Can you hear me?
Thank
There
you.
we
Thank
go.
you.
Couple updates from last month. As you know, we talked last month about the projects going on at the jail, and I'm happy to let you know that the fire alarm upgrade is complete. That is all done. Thompson's, we met with them about a week after last month's meeting, and they are in there this month just cleaning up some items they found while they were doing that project, that it was outside of the scope of that project but was still within the service plan we have with them. So there's no charge for that work, and they were working on that. The next item was with ECSI and the Barbara Coleman controls on all the air handling units. Air handling units 1 through 9 are complete. Those are all done. The VAV, the variable air volume work in all the office area, has been completed. There was some money left over on alternate 1, which was piping and insulation that had to do with the valve replacements. That extra money allowed us to upgrade air handling units 10, 11, and 12, and before I came up here, they let me know that those are also completed. So a majority of that project is completed. There is some money that is still left under alternate bid 2 that we're in discussions with Midwest Engineering and ECSI about the upgrades of some of the other controls within the facility that we would benefit from, and we're in discussions of that right now. So all the core base bid and the main alternates at that time for that project have all been completed. So that's good news. Any questions about that?
So as
Go ahead,
you're doing, as you're doing different sections of the jail, do they have to move some of the population in order to get into those areas?
I was not involved in the day-to-day piece of that, so I don't know if the sheriff, I don't see the sheriff still here, but I know it was a long project where there were specific areas they had to get into, and we shut down for quite a while when they had the COVID issue, so, but we're back. I don't know the daily logistics of that. That was handled between the jail staff and the contractors that did that. A couple other items.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll just say as a comment for somebody that's worked in the jail, though, if you never have seen the jail, it's quite interesting. I mean, there's giant hallways that run through the cells where a lot of work can get done there, but when you go in there to work, they have to take a tally of all your tools, whatever you go in through, and you just don't get to go walk around the jail willy-nilly. You're fully, so when we do a project out there, it's a full-on escort of our team, and then you have to count when you leave every single tool that was taken into the, so it's an interesting process to work in.
And one of the challenges that we have is that when we have a contractor in there, they must be escorted, and facilities is providing that escort. So if I've got Thompson's working in one area and I've got Rule or ECSI working in another area, I now have 2/3 of my guys walking around with people all day, and I'm down to one person. So that escort is not provided by the sheriff's department, that's provided by facilities. So we have 3 people out there, and when there's contractors going on, there may be days where we've got one guy right now handling the jail and the JDC for general maintenance. So it makes it very busy when we got contractors out there because we have to escort them. So anyway, another thing I want to make you aware of is that probably coming up in the next month or two, I'm working with the state of Illinois on the intergovernmental agreement lease for the One Tech Plaza building. If you're not aware, we have about 7,500 square feet down there the state is leasing from us. That intergovernmental agreement lease really expired a year ago. It just continued on. We're in negotiations right now and in discussions on renewing that lease. There's a couple items they want as part of that. Number 1 is all repainted. Number 2 is new carpeting. So we have gotten the bids. We went out for bid for that carpeting and painting and have those numbers. Those numbers will be included with that lease. I've turned all those numbers back into the state, and they are drafting the intergovernmental agreement right now. Last I heard from the state, their goal was to have us something in hand by November 1. We're hoping for that. And it most likely will be another 5-year agreement, and this one will include a 5-year extension on top of that, so total of up to 10 years. So You'll see that coming, I'm hoping, next month or so. So that's just, I want to make you aware of something I would be bringing forward. And a final piece I want to bring you, if you remember a year ago, we came to you to approve an upgrade to the Metasys system from Johnson Control that manages the HVAC system here at the courthouse and a couple of our other systems. That project has finally been complete, and system is all upgraded. It was moved within a virtual environment with IT. That system had not been touched since it was put in. So there had never been any upgrades to it. It was sitting on a standalone computer down in facilities. So we took it over. It's under a maintenance program. As part of that maintenance program, we get 8 hours a quarter of Johnson's time in the facility. They were just here a couple of weeks ago, and they've been finding some little things throughout the facility that haven't been functioning right. We were finding thermostats in areas. We'd always been getting some complaints of heating either too cold, too hot in some of our courtrooms. Once we got the system upgraded and was pulling all the data, we found several thermostats up in the courts that were not functioning right. So those have all been corrected. So my hope is, and my goal is, that we can bringing them in on a quarterly basis as part of that maintenance will help in keeping that system more functional and us under control. And the fact that we've got a number of alarms to monitor it over the weekends now. We were having challenges with coming in here on Mondays and having issues. Knock on wood, the last 3 or 4 Mondays, things have been very quiet. So I think we've got that system back under control and upgraded and being monitored. So I wanted to update you with that.
Mark, thank you for those two different reports, because I know that I heard much about the white elephant, which was called One Technology for a long time, and it seems like in the last few years, through Scott as well as you, this has been turned around, and we're doing well down there in One Technology. And from what you just reported on in your second report, that's a very, very positive thing as well.
Can you tell us what office in the state is renting that facility?
Department of Human Services. But the lease is through CMS.
And by the way, it's very comfortable in here today.
Thank you, Mark. Okay. Do we have Karen? You're it, Karen.
I just have a quick update on the sustainability on the energy usage. 2020 electric and natural gas both dropped by 3% over 2019 use. Water continues to decline a little bit. It looks like a lot this year, simply because we did have a little bit of time where there were less people in the buildings using facilities, and the fountains weren't filled here at the courthouse. There were some spikes in natural gas as you look at the 6-month average for April, and that again was when we didn't have as many people in the building, not as many more bodies. And for the same reason, there was less demand on electricity in May, when we would have normally needed to turn on air. I guess sort of add to what Mark had said about last month about the bulbs that were purchased through they were free due to a $6 rebate and a $6 cost for 5,040 bulbs for the jail and 4,950 for the courthouse. 387 of those bulbs have been installed at the jail so far, and most of this has been in the hallways where there's 24/7 lights are on. And then at the courthouse, they're going 4x4 and then a cost of 400 as of today. In addition to that, sustainability funds were using that same $6 incentive through Airman for YouTube bulbs, which are a little more costly. And those were purchased for Fifth Avenue and the courthouse at the same time using sustainability funds. That's what I have for you, unless you have questions for me.
Yeah, Becca, I owe you one. You owe me one. I owe you one. But I apologize. I looked over there, and I know all these people acting like the Lone Ranger and so forth, but I know that she's in charge of recycling. And okay. Any questions for Becca. Go ahead.
I was trying to understand the chart where it says second quarter 2020 usage. You have like green and red arrows, and then you have a percent change, but I don't understand if that's the baseline. Aren't those the zero?
From that baseline year. The use from 2020 was up 9.6% from the 2011 baseline. And the thing that is to be considered in there, some of the buildings changed. Back then we had Huntington Oaks, we had Bellwood, now we have Huntington Oaks, we've added elections. I think the list of buildings is included here, so Courthouse, Trees Lane, Election Commission, PMA, Fifth Avenue, parking deck, Huntington Oaks, Highland Trail.
Okay, so the percent change is 2011 to 2020, and then the other one is 2019 to 2020. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I
Go
have
ahead,
another
Dr.
question.
Blair. Oh, I thought you had.
Oh,
you
I'm
had
sorry.
a
Go ahead.
question. Anyone else with questions? Go ahead, Kate.
One of the things that I was wondering about in the graph about the health department. So I can tell that it's, work days, weekends, work days, weekends. So there's a use of electricity when nobody's there on the weekends. Do you know what most of that is contributing from? I mean, how do you get that number down? Because if you get that number down, you get all of the numbers overall down.
I think there are some systems that do stay on, but then this year as well, it's slightly different with COVID. I know there was staff even on the weekends. But in terms of this is just July, so even in July, there was still some people coming on the weekend. Friday, so there someone
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay, we're to our first and only resolution. Need a motion on this. Has to do with the Jubilee Road Bridge project. And Dr. Blair, seconded by Rob. Okay, Amy, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bridge on Brimfield Jubilee Road. If you're familiar with Jubilee Park, it's where there's a deer check station. Not too far, there's an equestrian trail actually that runs underneath this bridge. We received major bridge funding for this structure, and to utilize the major bridge funding, which pays a portion of the cost, we need to do this agreement with IDOT. We call it the federal agreement since it's federal funds. So we're asking that this gets signed so we can go to a bid letting in November and have construction start next calendar year. Happy to try to answer any questions.
You got an idea on this project time-wise?
So we'd like to get it done in a full construction season. We like to let them late in the year so we can get in there first thing when the weather breaks and go an entire season, so we're not overwintering a project.
So a contract could be let late this year.
Yes, so we could start it, yes. So we could get a
And as
contractor.
soon as you get good weather, you're
Yes,
gonna
that's the
hit.
plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And it's gonna cost us around 400,000.
Correct.
Okay. Questions for Amy? No questions. Okay, I'm going to call the resolution. All those in favor of adopting this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Betty. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to miscellaneous. We've done all this without our legal counsel.
I have a question, Phil.
Huh? Go ahead.
I meant to bring it with me, and Amy, I was wondering if you could answer my question. I got a packet from IDOT about Knoxville Avenue. Did everybody get one of these?
Did that have to do with the study that they're working on?
I didn't have a chance to bring the whole thing. That's why I meant to bring the packet with me. It's in my car.
Yeah, you can, if you want to take a picture and send it over to me, but I'm aware that they're doing some sort of study for a portion of Knoxville. I'm not sure what the extent is, but Knoxville is state jurisdiction. The city, they have an agreement that the city maintains a portion of it, but it's mostly state jurisdiction. I think this is a long-term type of process, and at some point, they would involve the public in some sort of public engagement. But happy to take a look at it.
They just
offline.
redid this. They just redid that whole street.
I
like
think this is a
2
different
years-
portion. I think this is a different portion of Knoxville.
I don't think it is.
No?
I'll take a picture.
Okay.
I'll take a picture. I thought
Okay.
they just redid this street, so
Okay.
that's why I was curious. Yeah.
Yeah, it ties back to the work that they did at the intersection at Lake. That was like the first phase of a multi-phase project. So the work that was completed this summer at Lake in Knoxville, that was the first component of it. But I don't know what the rest of it looks like yet. I
It
haven't
looked like
seen.
it started on the top of the hill where you would get on to the interstate by the hospital and then went all the way to I don't know where. That's why I was confused. I'm like, they just redid that. Okay, so maybe they're studying it to do specific projects. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Warren Knoxville has a pretty high accident rate.
Are you talking about the one that they're proposing in a couple of years? Kate, is that
I
the one?
didn't read the whole packet, so I just looked at the map for where they were talking about, and I was
I
just
don't
like,
think they're looking to get that done until, start on that for 2 or 3 years, are they?
It's my understanding they're in the planning phase, and it'll be a couple years before you'll actually see work done out there.
okay.
Anything else under miscellaneous? Since Mr. Dillon canceled his meeting, we can continue on if anybody's... Everybody get a chance to sign this?
Betty Duncan.